Okay, let's talk about this. Some Provo tenants were left homeless after sudden relocation over damaged stairwell.
Don't.
So they sent that video to property management, and shortly after, they said structural concerns with the staircase were identified in a recent inspection. Kind of a lie, but the rest of the building is structurally sound. And then 2 hours later, another email said that they would need to be out of their apartments by noon the next day, giving the college students just over 20 hours to pack up all their belongings in the middle of midterms. So Judd, who bravely came forward with her story, I think Stella Judd, and was told that Liberty and Freedom was aware of the issue, and all Judd needed to do was go to the leasing office and they would give her a new apartment. But the issue was that by the time she got this answer, the leasing office was closed. She did everything she could to reach out to Liberty and Freedom, who was supposed to give her a place to sleep in the meantime, but no one was at the leasing office the 3 separate times she went during the alleged open hours. She called Watson, who's the property manager of the Redstone, multiple times on Saturday to get help and was sent to voicemail each time. So at this point now, Judd has nowhere to sleep. In fact, with such late notice, Judd was forced to sleep in her brother's car that night. The next day, she was able to sleep on a neighbor's couch while actively looking for new housing and studying for a CNA skills test. So that entire weekend, she was homeless, out of no fault of her own, and her landlord did nothing. And in fact, on Monday, she finally received a response and said that they would cancel the Brookview lease and so that she could get a new apartment. Here's what she said: "The lack of any urgency, there was no apology. It was just, hey, here you go away, we don't want to deal with you." So then, of course, she goes to Liberty and Freedom, where she was told to go to sleep in the meantime, after having spent a weekend homeless and sleeping on neighbors' couches. At Liberty and Freedom leasing office, she was told the apartment complex had not been notified of the displaced tenants seeking housing. Judd says that she was then pressured over the next day and a half to sign a contract for Liberty that would last through August 2026, despite it being more expensive than her current rent. "I was extremely uncomfortable, especially since Brookview had promised temporary housing, not a new, more expensive lease. So while she was desperate for housing, she was pressured to sign a lease." This is so crazy. And Stella Judd was not the only person in this predicament. As far as I know, me and my roommate and only a couple other people from our complex were given alternative housing. The rest were kind of just screwed. They had nowhere to go. I agree. How are they getting away with this? People were literally homeless over the weekend. That should not be okay. And it's not. Now, what happened? What could have been done to prevent this from happening? Well, Elcock, a different person living there, said she overheard maintenance workers on the ground talking about everything that needed to be redone for safety issues such as porch areas and stairwell. So they knew that this was an issue and decided to do nothing. Now, this article talks about how there was a massive tree that blew over and fell on the stairwell in, it looks like, May of 2024, like almost 2 years ago. It says photographs show a massive tree blew over and fell on the stairwell, causing cracks, breaking railings, and damaging the foundation. Despite the apartment complex's email saying the damage had only been found in a recent inspection, Davis believes these photographs prove otherwise. Now, as an engineer, I don't know that this was caused by the tree. Without any other evidence, just looking at this could have been caused by a myriad of other things, and the first thing that pops out to me would be maintenance. See, what can happen with these, they're called double-wide bricks, is that they're not properly anchored together. And I personally wouldn't design something like this in a place like Utah, where water can get in between these 2 layers of bricks and then freeze and then expand and cause what's called delamination. This, to me, looks like a lack of maintenance. But, it could have also been caused by the tree. Either way, this is a problem that should have been pointed out a long time ago, and not a single person should have been allowed to walk on a staircase that looks like this. What's me upset about the situation is that a couple days after the tree fell, they had people out there looking at the staircase and looking at the cracked bricks, and they still did nothing about it for about a year and a half. They knew the staircase was damaged. This is insane. At the end of the day, they got nothing, except for this termination agreement that had a confidentiality clause. It said that it could not be disclosed to any third party for any reason, nor shall resident communicate in any forms, matter, yada, 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 legalese, don't tell anyone. It also said that you're not allowed to negatively discuss its tenancy, owner, or this agreement on social media. Insane. So this whole situation could have been avoided. Approximately 20 students were displaced by the evacuation. And we have all this, that we know about this because of Judd, who decided not to sign that termination agreement and decided to sue instead, which is exactly what you should have done. Congratulations. This is not uncommon. This happens all the time. I've heard plenty of stories like this of tenants who don't know their rights, who are unable to get legal representation, that are unable to get the enforcement of the actual law that is on the books, and they end up homeless or they end up completely screwed in many other ways. This should never happen. And what if we made it so that it never did? So something I'm really passionate about is renters' rights and making sure stuff like this never happens again. Something I want to highlight right now is the Office of Renters' Rights. Is something that I want to create. So I will fight to establish the Office of Renters' Rights under the governor to enforce the Utah Renters Bill of Rights, which is something I want to pass, and other renter protections such as the Utah Fair Housing Act and the Utah Fit Premises Act. This office will serve as a free one-stop resource for any renters seeking support in enforcing the law. I will also establish a free legal hotline for renters experiencing violation of their rights. Now, here's why I think that this will work even better than just changing the law. Now, the law around tenants and landlords also needs to change, but let me talk about this Office of Renters' Rights that I want to do. Now, imagine if you and any other renter could call the governor basically and say, hey, I don't have a place to stay tonight, and my landlord's not getting back to me, and they told me to talk to this other landlord, and they're not getting back to me. Imagine you could call them up, and you talk to them and say, I need a place to stay tonight, and they could actually do something. And here's what I think they could do. The state could then talk to the landlord and reach out and say, hey, you need to provide a place for your tenants to stay, and if you don't, then you'll be hit with a fine and you'll have to pay for their hotel visit tonight. And if you don't get back to us within, say, 6 hours, we will book the hotel, we will pay for it, and then send you the bill. Now, what this does is incentivizes landlords to take care of their tenants. So when there are emergencies like this, they don't just like clock out for the weekend, but they make sure that their renters are taken care of. And what else this does is make sure that they really understand the law. But most importantly, I want to make sure that these renters are taken care of. These renters that went through this, that were homeless for the weekend and went through all this back and forth, who had that crazy lease termination thing with the confidentiality thing, that's all so scary for a renter, and they should not have to deal with that. And they should not have to deal with like trying to find a lawyer and taking their landlord to court. All of this should and can be avoided. This issue can be fixed. And it can be fixed with very little resources from the state and just some tweaks in the law and this creation of an Office of Renters' Rights that stands as like a very accessible way for landlords and renters alike to understand the law, understand their rights, know how things are supposed to go, and ultimately be protected from situations like this. This should never happen. My heart goes out to all of the students that were affected. Thank you so much. And you can learn more about all of this, all of my plan for renters, this Renters Bill of Rights, this Office of Renters' Rights, all of that's on my website, davidforutah.com, davidforutah.com. You can also comment and I'll answer questions, and you can reach out to my phone number on my website. Let me know if this ever happens again. I want to be there to help.